What if your first period didn't mean womanhood, but a prison sentence in my family? Bleeding meant you belonged to a man 3 times your age. Until I ran, exposed them all, and started a war they still haven't won. I was never supposed to survive girlhood. In our home, your value didn't lie in your dreams or your kindness or the hours you spent helping your little siblings with homework. No, in our home, the first sign of blood didn't mean you were growing up. It meant you were ready to be sold. By the time you turned 13, maybe 14 if you were lucky, you were property. Not a daughter, not a person, just a womb that needed occupying. The only question was which man would pay the price. The older, the richer, the better. I grew up thinking that was normal. I truly did. Until I watched my cousin Mayam, bright-eyed and barely 12, get promised to a man older than her father just 3 days after her first period. He'd already buried 2 wives by the time he showed up with gold and a smile that never reached his eyes. We were told the wives had died of kidney failure. We whispered it was from too many pregnancies, too young, too fast. That night, something inside me broke. I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't scream. That wouldn't have helped. I did something far more calculated. I stopped eating, not because I wanted to die, because I wanted to delay. I'd noticed something the thinner girls in our family, the ones who didn't have enough body fat, were always the last to get their periods. If my body could delay the blood, maybe I could delay the wedding. Delay becoming another ghost story whispered at midnight. The other girls started calling me skeleton. I let them, because I had a plan. I was starving myself, not out of self-hatred, but out of survival. It didn't stop my training. Of course, wife prep was a ritual. Every Friday, like clockwork, I was made to serve meals to the men in our family. From 1 a.m. to 10 a.m., on my feet, without speaking, without looking them in the eye, one glance too high, one clang of a plate, and I'd earn 10 lashes for my father's belt. I was taught to carry burning pots with my bare hands so I could toughen up for future kitchen duties. They'd smile when I winced, told me pain made a girl useful. Every night, my mother would smear skin whitening cream across my face, promising it would make me beautiful enough to fetch a better price. I played the part. I smiled. I said all the right things. I told them I wanted lots of babies. I practiced my cooking. I kept quiet. By 14, I was still periodless, still technically safe, but beginning to understand that safety was temporary. That's when fate gave me a gift. It came in the shape of a locked drawer, forgotten open by a teacher at school who saw too much. I'd worn a t-shirt that day, accidentally revealing how thin I'd become. She pulled me aside for a conversation, then left for the restroom, leaving her drawer slightly ajar. Inside were pamphlets, books. One said, "Your rights as a minor." Another, "When culture becomes crime." I stared at them like they were forbidden fruit. They weren't written for girls like me, or so I thought. But something in me needed to know. I stole the thinnest one and hid it in my waistband. I read it in the dark, long after my family had gone to bed. Memorized every word. Discovered that child marriage wasn't just unfair, it was illegal. Learned what CPS stood for. Learned about mandatory reporters, teachers, doctors, counselors. All legally bound to act if a kid said the right words. And then, I started teaching, not in school, of course. In my uncle's tool shed, behind the stacks of paint buckets and broken lawn chairs. 6 cousins joined me. All girls. None of them had bled yet.